Hi, we're Ariel,
And Michelle, and
and
we're
we're
the
the
board
Board
game
Game Tutors.
tutors.
Today we're going to be going over the original Cave Goblins faction, headed by their summoner Sneeks, which comes in the Summoner Wars starter set, Guild Dwarves versus Cave Goblins. So let's go ahead and get started on the Cave Goblins faction. And also, just so you know, this mat here, like if you saw our Guild Dwarves video, you'll notice that this is not the mat that comes with the Summoner Wars starter set. It looks a lot nicer than would come in a starter set. So this is not the mat that you would get in the starter set. If you want to see what the mat looks like, it's just a basic paper mat. That mat would be found on our Guild Dwarves video. We showed that for a little bit. So let's go ahead and start with the starting setup card here. So as you can see, this is all the units that Sneek's army starts out with at the beginning of the game. And then if we flip it over, those are all Sneek's events cards. And this is the turn phase summary, as usual, in every Summoner Wars faction. So that's that. Then over here, we have a basic wall card for Sneek's faction, the Cave Goblins. And nothing special here, just a regular wall. And let's go ahead and get started here.
So Sneeks is the summoner, like Ariel said. He has an attack value of 3, is a melee fighter, and has 7 hit points. And his ability is called Sly. At the end of your turn, Sneeks may exchange places with any cave goblin unit that you control.
So the wording here is important. As you can see here on the turn phase summary card over here, after your turn, at the end of your turn. So this is essentially step 7 at the end of everything else. After you've done draw, summon, play event cards, movement, attack, build magic, this ability can come into effect. So it says Sneeks may exchange places with any cave goblin unit that you control. So, for example, let's just say Sneeks is here. And let's just grab this guy over here too. Straighten that out. Okay, so let's say Sneeks is back here behind his wall, safe from any attacks from the enemy, most of them anyway. And this slinger is over here. So Sneeks could, as step 7 of the turn phase summary, can move out of here and swap places with this slinger, or any cave goblin unit for that matter. And you might do that for multiple reasons. You might do that because maybe the enemy surrounded Sneeks where he was back here, and you want to get him out, so you exchange places. Or something else that might happen would be Sneeks, like we said, he rolls 3 dice, which is a pretty powerful combination. If he just sneaks up out of nowhere, he sneaked. Actually, it's called Sly, so I guess I'd call it sneaky, but whatever. Anyway, um, he switches places just so he can roll 3 dice in your opponent summoner's face, for example. So that's one thing that you could do with him. Sometimes you use it for a proactive action, going after the enemy summoner, or sometimes you'll use it to get out of a sticky situation where you're getting surrounded by other people. So that is one instance of using Sneak's Sly ability.
Okay, then here's the first common of the cave goblins that we're going to talk about. This is a slinger. It has a 0 summon cost, an attack value of 1, is a ranged fighter, and has 1 hit point. And the slinger's ability is reckless. So this is one of those abilities that's more of a disability. When attacking with this slinger, only die results of 4 or higher count as a hit. So the slinger, basically, you could also maybe think of this as imprecise or something like that. He's not very good at what he does, so he fails more often than other people fail. So like there, he got a 2, he would fail. Obviously, anyone would fail with 2.
But if you roll a 4, that would be a hit. But let's see, where does a 3 on here? There it is. If you roll a 3, normally for everybody else that would count as a hit, unless you're fighting against a common unit that's tough and can't be hit with 3s. But basically, I guess because his face is kind of obscured with something or other, I don't know. Anyway, he's throwing a rock. It's okay. He basically just fails on 3s. So basically, 1, 2s, and 3s are not good for slingers.
Mm-hmm. And they are a 0 summon cost, like some of the other units in this faction. So that enables you to put them on the board really quickly and easily. And that's one of the strengths of the Cave Goblins, is to get a lot of units on the board quickly and move them across toward your opponent's summoner as quickly as you can.
yeah, pretty much the game for Cave Goblins is overwhelm and attack. And you'll see that more so as we continue on. So that's the Slinger for you. So disability, but a pretty good unit overall, aside from the disability.
Yeah, especially because they're free.
I dropped that one over there. Sorry about that. Over here, next unit.
So this is a fighter.
Mhm.
He's another common unit. Has a summon cost of 0 again, an attack value of 1, is a melee fighter, and has 1 hit point.
Mhm.
And the fighters, their ability is called Relentless. So this is kind of unique. Cave Goblin fighters do not attack during your attack phase. Instead, immediately after your normal attack phase, you may attack with up to 2 Cave Goblin fighters that you control.
So let's make this example over here. I'm going to grab some cards over here on the side. Let's see. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so let's grab this fighter and put him here. Grab the Slinger, put him here. Fighter here. Slinger here. And Sneeks over here. Sure. Okay, so what this means for Relentless is essentially if you can time it and plan it just right, you can have 5 attacks in one round of combat. So, what would happen would be, let's just assume all of these units on the board have a unit that they can attack. So let's say Sneeks attacks somebody over here. He rolls 3 dice. Then the Slinger also attacks with 3 dice, or not 3 dice, 1 die. And then this Slinger also attacks with 1 die. So that is your entire attack phase, step 5 of your turn phase summary. But since they are relentless, and if, let's just say everybody has a target that they could attack, this fighter could also attack, and this fighter could also attack, up to a maximum of 2. So, for example, let's pretend the Slinger was shooting at somebody right here. But this fighter was here, and this fighter was here. So let's say it was a really tough unit that had like 4 hit points or something like that. This Slinger would roll once, possibly hit it. This fighter, well, like I said, these 2 would have to go first, and then this one would have to go. It doesn't matter the order of your other 3. You just have to time it carefully and plan ahead. So it takes a little bit of planning. But you could attack with 3 regular units, and essentially you treat fighters as extra units. So, like we said, let's say this unit got 1 damage. Then, for example, this fighter attacked it and did another damage. This fighter attacked it and missed. Well, now you just got a bunch of extra attacks in with very weak units that cost you nothing to put on the board. So yeah, basically, they're units that you would use just to overwhelm people, surround them, attack them, and basically make mincemeat out of them because they cannot stop all of your 5 attacks. So, and the only thing that people can do to combat your attacks would be to not be in a position for you to attack them.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay, then the last common is a Berserker. He has a summon cost of 2, an attack value of 2, is a melee fighter, and has 2 hit points. His ability is called Assault. When this Berserker attacks, it may attack all enemy units that are adjacent to it. Resolve each attack separately.
So, this is an important skill as well because, let's say, in the completely not likely scenario that he was completely surrounded and didn't die for some reason or other, he could attack every single person around him with 2 dice on each person. So in this example, he would roll 2 dice against this person, 2 dice against this person, 2 dice against that person, 2 dice against that person. So it gives you the versatility of attacking everyone around him. And obviously, that kind of makes sense. He's a berserker, as his name says. He has this humongous club in his hands. So you can just imagine him like swinging his club around in a circle. But the important thing that you have to remember is roll 2 dice for each individual target. Mm-hmm. And another important fact, walls, I learned this the hard way, walls are not subject to assault. It just says when he attacks, it may attack all enemy units. It doesn't say anything about walls. So that means you could only attack these 3 with 2 dice each, or this wall with 2 dice. You have to pick and choose, because you can't attack everybody around you and attack the wall. You have to choose either the wall or the people around you. And obviously, in this example, you would choose all the people around you because you're completely surrounded. You don't want to keep all those people around you. That is a pretty poor decision to make yourself vulnerable to all those people. All right.
Now we have the champions. This is Mook.
Mm-hmm.
He has a summon cost of 5, an attack value of 2, is a melee fighter, and has 7 hit points.
Mm-hmm.
And his ability is really powerful. It's called Taskmaster. When attacking with a cave goblin unit you control that is within 3 spaces of Mook, add 1 to the number on each of your die results. Taskmaster does not affect Mook. So Mook influences everyone, all of his units, or all of your cave goblin units that are within 3 spaces of him. So that's not, it doesn't just say straight line or anything like that. There are a lot of ways to be within 3 spaces of Mook. So his ability can be really powerful.
So, for example, if I rolled 1 for this fighter, 1 for this slinger, and 1 for this fighter. So let's just say I rolled that for that fighter, this for this slinger, and okay. Obviously, all of these were really successful. But let's just say I rolled a 2 with this slinger. Oh, that wouldn't work. I rolled a 3. Let's say I rolled a 1. No, that wouldn't help me that much. But okay. Anyway, let's just say we did this. So he rolled a 1. Mook, because he's within 3 spaces, would boost this up to a 2. This slinger, because he's within 3 spaces, this gets boosted up to a number that I can't find. There we go. 4, because it was a 3 originally, and this one would also be a 4. So basically, he boosts everybody pretty much. There's no limit to the number of people that he can boost.
Yeah, it's just within 3 spaces.
Yeah, it just has to be within 3 spaces, which, as you can see, when you count with me, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's a pretty wide range. Like, it's a big diamond shape, essentially. So, he can make people a lot stronger than what they were before. And you can imagine him, he doesn't have a whip, but basically that's what he's doing. He's whipping his men into shape, telling them fight harder, fight faster, etc. So, yeah, that is Mook's special ability. And like we said, he has 7 hit points, which is pretty scary. When he's coming towards you, he's boosting everybody's attack, and yeah, you won't like him if you're fighting against him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's ridiculously cheap at 5 for 7 hit points.
Yeah, that's kind of really insane.
Yeah. If you look at our Guild Dwarves video, Gror has, I believe, like an equal amount of hit points to his summon cost.
Yeah, I think he has 7 hit points and he has a cost of 7.
So yeah, Mook is really great for the person playing the Cave Goblins.
Yeah, I've been beaten by them a lot, so I don't like them very much.
Mm-hmm. So here's Blarf.
Okay, so Blarf is the next champion. He has a summon cost of 1, an attack value of 0, is a melee fighter, and has 5 hit points. So far that sounds kind of strange, obviously, like he has no attack value, but that's why we have to read his special ability. Mm-hmm. So it's called Magic Augmentation. At any time, a player may remove cards from the top of their magic pile and place those cards under Blarf. Add 1 to Blarf's attack value for each card under this card, up to a maximum of +4.
So, as you can see over here, I grabbed a couple of cards. I put them in my magic pile. Obviously, you're going to be doing this all the regular way of putting cards in your magic pile by killing enemy units, building magic at the end of your turn. So, with Blarf, as you can see over here, it says, you can add 1 to Blarf's attack value, which he sorely needs because he can't do any attacks in his current state, although he is a summon cost of 1, so that's interesting. But you add 1 to Blarf's attack value for each card underneath this card, up to a maximum of 4. And, like we said, you can remove cards at any time from the top of their magic pile and place those cards underneath Blarf. So 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. Obviously, you could just put 1. Obviously, you could just put 2. It just depends. But when you do that to Blarf and add 4, his attack value is 4. When you only add 2, he's only 2. So he has very interesting dynamics regarding his special ability, because he doesn't look that special. He looks kind of like an oaf. If you zoom in and see his card, he's wearing a funky hat. He has really stupid looking wooden armor. Anyway, he doesn't look that smart. And his name doesn't imply he's smart.
Yeah.
But So you can make him really strong by adding 4 cards underneath him. And magic augmentation is one way to fight your opponent if you're playing the guild dwarves. Not like you need that many things on your side because you have a lot of things going for you. But if you suspect that your opponent has magic drain in their hand, so you can use this actually against any faction that has magic drain. If you know that they have fewer units on the board than you, and you suspect they might be playing magic drain on the next turn, on your turn. So it says at any time, but there is one caveat to that. But if you know that if you highly suspect that they're going to use magic drain on you, you can use this to deplete your magic from your pile to make him stronger and deny that magic to your opponent. So that is one thing that you can do with magic augmentation. And it also says at any time. There is one caveat, like I said. If your opponent, during their turn, reveals Magic Drain, you cannot use Magic Augmentation after they have announced they're using Magic Drain. So, like, if they say they're going to use Magic Drain, you say, oh, I don't have any magic because I used it on Blarf. No, that doesn't count. They've already announced their intention.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can't do that. That's basically cheating. So, yeah. So that is one interesting usage of Blarf. And also, another interesting point with Blarf. So, like we said, he has 5 hit points. So he will die semi quickly because, your opponent won't like the potential of having 4 dice rolled by Blarf. But one other thing that you might consider doing with him is I would use him in fighting a, uh, a champion like Baldar from the Guild Dwarves, because if you just put 1 card underneath him, or even 2 cards underneath him, there's a lot lower chance of you rolling uh, against Blarf's ability. Blarf's ability, you have to roll all successes.
Baldar's ability.
Not Blarf. Baldar's ability, sorry. Baldar's ability, you have to roll all successful die results against him to win. To win in terms of getting successful hits against him. So you might put a few cards underneath Blarf, but not that many. So that way you don't have to roll 4 dice and risk missing all of them with Blarf.
Right. So if you put 2 cards, then you're rolling 2 dice against Baldar. There's a decent chance they'll both be successful compared to if you roll 4 dice. There's a pretty good chance that at least one won't be successful, and then you won't put any wounds on Baldar.
Right. So that's that.
Okay. And then the last champion is called the Eater. Mm-hmm. He has another fairly unique ability. So he has a summon cost of 4, an attack value of 3, is a melee fighter, and has 6 hit points. So this is his ability, which is another one that's not exactly an ability, more of a disability. It's called Feed the Eater. At the end of your attack phase, you must destroy any 1 common unit that is adjacent to the Eater. If there are no common units adjacent to the Eater at the end of your attack phase, discard the Eater. So apparently this guy starves really fast if you don't feed him every turn.
And for some reason, his picture on his card is a lot more pink than the picture on the box that you get Guild Dwarves and Cave Goblins in. I don't know why he's so pink. It doesn't really match the color scheme of the Cave Goblins.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a separate issue. So what you have to remember with this is obviously you want to use this to grab other commons from the enemy army, so that way he can eat them and use them as his food. But this can work with your commons as well. If you're desperate and your enemy could basically not summon common units to kill the eater, so that way he'll just die at the end of the turn. Because, like it says, you discard him at the end of your turn if he hasn't eaten a common unit. And like we said, champions and summoners don't count. But the main thing you need to keep in mind here is you can sacrifice your own units to keep him alive longer. But yeah, that only lasts for so long. And let's see, was there anything else we want to talk about regarding this?
So you just have to have 1 common unit adjacent to him at the end of your attack phase. So you just need to pay careful attention to that, because otherwise he's going to be gone at the end of that turn.
And if you get really, really desperate and there's no way that the eater could get back to your lines to eat one of your commons, then if you really are desperate, you can use... I wonder if that works. Can Sneeks exchange places with him at the end of your attack phase? No.
Oh yeah, it's worded carefully so that this happens before Sneeks' ability comes into play.
So yeah, Sneeks cannot exchange places with the Eater. That's important because this eating phase happens immediately after the attack phase, and Sneeks phase, like I said, happens on turn 7.
Yeah, at the very end of your turn. And so he could trade places with him, but that doesn't change the fact that you had to feed the Eater at the end of your attack phase.
Right. And yeah, he's not a very pretty character, as you can see.
Now we're going to go over all the event cards, which are quite powerful. So this is called Goblin Rush. Choose up to 3 Cave Goblin units you control that have a summon cost of 0. You may immediately move each of the chosen units up to 2 spaces.
So, as you can tell, this does not apply to any of your champions. It only applies to your slingers and your fighters. And yeah, so because they are 0 costs. And so basically, a pretty straightforward card overall. You can move up to 3, 2 spaces each. So it's basically a second movement phase. So you move 2 spaces, and then you move another 2 spaces during your regular movement phase. This happens during event phase, obviously, because this is an event card.
Yep. And there are 2 of these Goblin Rush cards in your deck. This is Goblin Horde Attack. All Cave Goblin units that you control gain the following ability until the end of this turn. Gang Up. When this Cave Goblin attacks, add 1 to its attack value for every other friendly Cave Goblin unit adjacent to the card that is being attacked.
Okay. So this is a stackable card where if you played, let's see, Goblin Horde Attack, you have 3 copies of this. So if you played 2 Goblin Horde attacks, then you would get...
You would add 2 to the attack value instead of 1 to the attack value for every other friendly Cave Goblin unit adjacent to the card that is being attacked.
Right. And so, obviously, you don't want to overdo that because then that basically means fighters and slingers roll 2 dice. I don't think you'd ever want to use Goblin Horde Attack all 3 cards. I don't know if you'd ever have 3 cards all at the same time, but if you did, it's kind of overkill to give all your 0 cost units 3 dice. And also, like I said, remember when you time it right and you do placement just right, fighters can do extra attacks on units that are especially strong to take them down, and this card will definitely help them because it makes them stronger in terms of rolling more dice.
Yeah, and it's important to note this one applies to all Cave Goblin units that you control, so this one isn't limited to 0 cost units.
Right.
And it's easy to understand this one if you think about it thematically. Basically, the goblins get stronger when they attack in a group, which is why it's called Gang Up.
Yeah, so, for example, if the Eater was here, this was the enemy unit, and this was here, then this Eater would gain 1 die for having a Slinger next to the target he is attacking, and same thing, this Slinger would get 1 extra die for having the Eater next to the same target it's attacking, if it was still alive, obviously.
Yeah, so, obviously if one of them killed the guy they're attacking, then it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, right. So, and then obviously it stacks up even more if the more of these cards you play at the same time. Okay.
Then we have Goblin Rage. All Cave Goblin units you control that have a summon cost of 0 gain the following ability until the end of this turn. Swift Strike. Once per turn, after attacking with this Cave Goblin, you may immediately attack with this Cave Goblin 1 additional time.
So, this is slightly different from Goblin Horde Attack in terms of the fact that essentially you do, in that same example, let's say that again, the way this one works, so like I said, this Slinger in the previous example would have had 2, this Eater would have had 4. In this example, only summon costs of 0, so this doesn't apply to the Eater, any champion, or any person who costs any money in terms of magic. It only applies to this Slinger. And it basically means he can attack twice with that. But, like we said, Goblin Horde Attack could be stacked. You could stack Goblin Horde Attack and Goblin Rage together, and then that would just be crazy, and your opponent would just basically want to give up at that point because you're rolling so many dice against them, like it just feels futile to fight back. But yeah, so in this case, this Slinger would roll 1 die, then roll another die. So they're separate attacks. Even though essentially you rolled 2 dice, they're separate attacks because the first one was the first attack, the second one was the second attack. So they don't combined. They combine together to do the damage, but they're each separate events, as
Right.
opposed to with Goblin Horde Attack, you would just roll 2. However, if you did do Goblin Horde Attack with Goblin Rage, then that gets all crazy where um, so you would get an extra die from the Goblin Horde Attack for the friendly Cave Goblin unit, and you would get to attack twice. So if you combine Goblin Rage and Goblin Horde, this Slinger would roll twice for the first attack and be able to attack again because of Swift Strike and do it again. So it can get pretty overwhelming for the opposite side when you're playing as the Cave Goblins. Okay, next card, I think last one.
Okay, Goblin Invincibility. Until the beginning of your next turn, when an opponent rolls to attack a Cave Goblin unit that you control, that unit only receives wound markers from die results of 6 or higher during that attack. So, yeah, this one's really powerful and pretty straightforward. For one whole turn, all of your units can only be hurt by die rolls of 6.
So, yeah, they're essentially equivalent cards of this and other factions. But, yeah, a 6 is pretty hard to roll. You will roll, your opponent will roll them on occasion, but yeah, especially for any of your champions, unless they roll, your opponent rolls really, really well, they're not going to die on this turn. Except if it's one of your 0-cost units that only has 1 life, there is a chance they will get killed, even though Goblin Invincibility is in play.
Yeah, and this can also just discourage your opponent from attacking you for 1 turn because it might, it seems like it might be pretty useless because they can only hurt you with a 6.
Right.
And I think there's only one of these. Yeah, this is the one event card that you only have 1 copy in this faction.
And obviously, as the name implies, Invincibility, giving too many of these copies of this card to one army can be pretty overwhelming for the other army. So that's why they obviously only chose to give you 1 for the deck. And also, sometimes you might choose to use Goblin Invincibility when you put Sneeks in a vulnerable position. So let's say you purposefully throw Sneeks out into the front, but you might play Goblin Invincibility earlier that turn. So first, you would have to, during your play event card phase, you'd have to play Goblin Invincibility. Usually we leave it on the board off to the side, like diagonally or something, just to help your opponent remember this is in effect until my next turn. And then you would go to movement, then you go to attack, then you go to build magic. And then if you wanted to throw Sneaks in step 7 out onto the far side of the board, this might be a reasonable idea, especially if you can get Sneaks into a position to attack your enemy summoner, and then he's relatively safe from attacks. Not completely, but relatively safe. And yeah, if he has the hit points to spare, for example. So yeah, those were all the cards from the Cave Goblin faction, from the Summoner Wars
Starter
set, Guild Wars versus Cave Goblins. If you guys have any questions, any clarifications, please let us know. And also, if you enjoyed this content, please subscribe to our channel, the YouTube channel, The Board Game Tutors, for more regular updates from our instructional video channel page.
All right, thanks so much for watching. See you in the next video.
See you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Bye.